What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on Buy Sell Cars TV. Today we're going to be talking about my SL55 F1 Pack. Some of you might already know, some of you might not know what an F1 Pack is, so let me tell you a little bit about what it is. The SL55 came into production sort of early 2000s, and they introduced an optional extra which was called, the Performance Pack, which is now known as the F1 Pack. The reason it's called the F1 Pack is because it's inspired by the Formula One racing. This used to be a safety car from the era of that time. So the spec of the F1, it's about an £8,500 optional extra from new. And obviously back in 2004, 2005, that was quite a big expensive option to have on a car from new. And what that included was you'd get 19-inch split alloy wheels, which is the same as what you find on the SL65s. You would have bigger brake discs. There was a limited slip diff as well. Uprated cooling. The speed limiter was rated to 186 miles an hour from the original 155, but you can still de-restrict it, and these cars have been rumoured to top sort of 200 miles an hour. The front bumper had a slightly different apron as well, so there was little sort of fins on the side of the bumpers, which came from the SL65. So really, from a certain distance, the car did just look like an SL65, but all of these options really did make the car feel like it's something special. How I felt about the car before I bought it, well, I was always a big fan of these cars ever since I was a kid. I did think, at the time as well, they were a bit of a supercar. They were faster than the equivalent sort of Ferrari and Porsche at the time. They had more brake horsepower. It was a Grand Tour supercar, shall I say. For me, I've always thought about, it'd be nice to get one of these cars, and I've always said if I go for one, I'm going to go for the F1 Pack, just because to me it's a bit more special and it looks that bit better. I like the fact that you don't really see them on the road very often as well, so to me it just made it something which is a bit more special. So you could say I was kind of really excited to get myself into an SL55. I had high expectations of this car, but when I got the car, after driving it for the first couple of days, I don't know, maybe it's just me, I just feel like I didn't gel with the car. Maybe because I bought the car in October when it's a wintry day. Today we've got a bit of sunshine, the roof is down. It does feel a bit nicer to drive, but I just didn't gel with the car in the first few days. It just felt it just didn't live up to my expectations. I just didn't feel connected with the car. I know it's not a hardcore performance car. It is designed to be a luxury Grand Tourer, but it just didn't meet my expectations initially, so I can only just go by how I felt. As time went on and I drove the car a bit more and more, I did start to understand the purpose of this car. Great performance, amazing soundtrack. And it is comfortable. I have to give it to this car, especially for the age of the vehicle. It's very, very comfortable. Roof is down, we're cruising, we've got a 5.4 supercharged, great, enormous engine, and we're just wafting along. It's such a nice car to drive. If the weather was a bit warmer, it would be even a bit nicer, but you can't fault it on a day like today. So first impressions, it was a bit 50-50, shall I say. I think it's because I had such high expectations. That's what it was for me. I don't know. So running cost is a question which gets asked quite a lot about this car. It is a huge engine, it is an old engine, it's not great on fuel. I'll be honest, I don't actually drive the car a crazy amount, so I don't pay a crazy amount to the fuel. But I can say it averages about in the region 12 to 14 miles per gallon. When I do drive this car, I do like to drive it a bit spirited, shall I say. But at the same time, it isn't an everyday car. Fuel isn't, end of the world when it is a bit of a weekend toy. You don't buy an SL55 if you're going to be concerned about the fuel. If you were, you'd probably go for the 350, which probably isn't that much better anyway on fuel. But if you were, that's what you were going to go for. This is the hardcore variant. You buy this car because you want the soundtrack that comes with it. I don't think there's another car out there that sounds like this. It's such a raw, powerful, but it's got class. It's not too loud, it's not crazy, it's not obnoxious. It just sounds good. So let's talk about the pros and the cons of this car. But let's start with a few of the good things. You know, as I touched on before, the soundtrack of this car is absolutely phenomenal. It's super comfortable for the age of the car as well, and it looks fantastic. For the age, I can't stress this enough, SLs always just, they know how to do it from every shape they've done, from the 107s, the 129s to the 230s. All of the SLs look absolutely fantastic. You can't fault those. So for me, those are three major pros about this car. The negatives of this, just the maintenance of these cars. You know, when things do go wrong, they're very, very expensive. Just to give you an example, during my ownership, I've only had this car for about 6 months. The car had a new battery in it in September. And then recently I had an alternator fail, which caused the battery to get damaged. Just that alone, when I had to go get the battery replaced, the alternator done, obviously along with diagnostics, the bill came to about £850. So when things do go wrong on these cars, they can be expensive. And there's a lot of common faults with these cars. You know, you tend to find your seals start to go so water can get into the car. And if this does happen, you'll start to see you've got damp carpets behind the seats. This is a bit of a problem as well, because if the water leaks into the boot, you've got a lot of the motors as well for the roof, and you know, if you get these damaged, it can be, again, quite expensive to replace. So another fault which these cars have is the ABC, you know, suspension related things. There's many parts of the suspension which can fail. You know, if any of your valves fail on the corners, these are very, very expensive to replace. You're in the thousands for these. The ABC pump. These are common problems, guys. You know, you have to bear this in mind when you are buying these cars. And if you are looking to buy a car, it's good to see if the work has already been done on these in the past over the years, because as they get onto this sort of age, you do find that a lot of things may have already been done, but even still, you do need to just take into account you can be spending a lot of money when it comes to repairing these cars. Overall, how do I feel about these cars? I do really like them, I really do. I just don't know if you can justify the extra cost of an F1. The reason is the F1 does come at quite a premium. You know, if an F1 is £35,000-40,000, a non-F1 equivalent, same mileage, same year, might be £22,000. There is quite a substantial difference in the price of these. Now, long term, yes, the F1's definitely going to be better, no doubt about it. You know, when it comes to future classics, the F1 is the one to go for if you're thinking of investments. But really, if you just want to enjoy the car, you can just go for a nice SL55, low owners, good mileage, you know, 40-50,000 on the clock. You can put the SL65 wheels on the car as well. It will look absolutely fantastic. And you can enjoy the car. And you can find good examples now as well for sort of £20,000, £25,000. But you just want to make sure that it's got the history there when you are looking to buy these cars. But if you are looking for something which is special, go for the F1 pack. It is different, not many people have them, so you will feel like you are driving something special which no one has. And long term, I do think they'll do well. You know, it's just my opinion. But, you know, if you look at how SLs go, the previous ones, anything AMG, anything rare is definitely going to be good for holding money in the future. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, guys. I thought I'd just share with you my SL55, which I've had for the last 6 months, and just talk you through my experience and what I think about these cars. So I hope you've enjoyed it, guys. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys.